Well, it's that time of year again. I'm going to expand the extender pack to the full 16 modules. Unfortunately, it is raining quite hard today, so I'm not sure how much I will be able to actually record of the process, but I'll try. Yesterday, I welded some heavy-duty steel brackets, double welded them, and fixed them up a bit. These will be mounted to the frame here. There's a pretty thick sway bar under here that holds these brackets, so I'm pretty sure that if I mount the batteries to that, pretty much won't be able to budge. And then on here at the bottom, I will be mounting a couple of clips as well, so the second row of batteries won't really be able to go anywhere. But yeah, quick update. This pack has been awesome. The first time I used it, I went for about 107 kilometers on a single charge. It may not seem like much, that's like 65 miles. But considering this car in winter weather with a headwind can usually only get like 75 kilometers, that means the second pack is definitely working. And with the extra extender pack, I'm hoping to break 160 kilometers next weekend. Half of it is in. The bracket here fits like perfectly. I'm very happy with that. Unfortunately, on the front, I had to use zip ties. I have this little thing. It's a latch in case it does come loose. For instance, in an accident, it will kind of hold on to the rest of the battery packs as well. I'm gonna make one here as well, so I don't have battery packs flying through the car when I have an accident. And that's the second set in, and everything wired up as well. So even though the car is absolutely empty, and I'll show you how empty it is, it's still at 360 volts, at more than 360 volts. And the second layer of batteries is at more like 350 something volts. So I need to draw it a bit lower. So instead of driving around, I'm just going to turn on the heater. That seemed to work just fine last time. Two and a half volts. How much current could that possibly cause? No, it's okay. That's actually totally fine. Yep, I can just hard connect those. Now obviously that nice wooden cover that I made is not going to fit here, and that is a true shame. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to reuse part of that cover, or use it as a template, and make a cover that just goes not quite all the way. I do need some kind of safety cover because, as it is right now, there's only some tape over the contacts. That's not safe. Nope. Everything still seems to work. So the next step is charging it up and seeing how many kilowatt hours it is actually taking. Now this is a little bit disappointing. As you saw in the last clip, the car only charged about 25 kilowatt hours, even though the battery was completely dead. It was showing what's called the very low battery warning, which means there are like the gasometer, also known as the kilometers remaining meter, shows dashes instead of actual kilometers, and it's basically telling you gotta charge now. And if we subtract like losses, there's about 10% losses in charging, so that's like 22, maybe 22 and a half kilowatt hours of actual battery capacity in the car. These batteries these are 16 modules, which are slightly over a kilowatt hour each. So these are altogether, this is about 17.5 kilowatt hours. So these batteries alone should be 17.5. Additionally, according to Leaf Spy, the internal battery management system thinks it still has about 16.1 kilowatt hours of usable capacity. So that is out of the 21.3 when the car is new, but this battery is pretty degraded. So 16.1 plus about 17, that should equal well over 30, so 33 kilowatt hours of usable capacity. But it's not using it all. So what's going on here? Now what you're seeing here is this is a little board that I designed to charge and very accurately measure while charging 18650 batteries. So this is like the standard size lithium-ion batteries. And I clipped this just to one of the cells in my extender battery. This is a loose cell that I got from my supplier for testing purposes. And what this is doing is I've fully depleted the cell, and now I am charging it very slowly in order to measure what the voltage is at different states of charge. And using this serial to USB cable, which is hooked up to my PC, I am making a graph. A battery, its voltage goes down as it depletes. So this is the 2011 Nissan Leaf battery, and this is the entire pack voltage on the vertical axis and what's called the GIDS on the horizontal axis. This is essentially capacity in watt hours. So this graph shows that at the far left side, so that's the most depleted battery, the total pack voltage is about 310 volts. That's roughly when the battery goes into turtle mode. Turtle mode means maximum power is very limited and the pack is pretty much dead. And well, a very, very small amount of charge later, the battery is completely dead. Then this blue region of the graph between the red square and the orange square is the capacity between turtle mode and what's called very low battery warning. So that's what I had on my screen. Up to the yellow square is the amount of capacity you have until low battery warning. That is when the car says you should probably start to look at chargers right now. And then the rest of the graph is the actual normal operation of the car. Low battery warning starts at a pack voltage of just over 360 volts, which coincides with about 3.77 volts per cell. And he actually calculated that here. And then the very low battery warning is at 3.625 and turtle mode at 3.2. So this works well with the characteristics of this battery in the original battery in the Leaf, because the low battery warning only starts showing at 50 out of 250 GIDS. So that's about 80% of the capacity of your battery that you can use until it starts saying low battery. And that's correct. The battery is low at that point. Unfortunately, this battery chemistry that's being used, called LMO or lithium manganese oxide, its characteristic is that it cuts off at a very high voltage. And the new batteries that I'm using are what's called NCA or nickel, cobalt, aluminum batteries. And those have a very different discharge curve. So that's what's shown here. This is a graph. Excuse these little squiggly bits in the graph. Just disregard those. Those are measurement errors, or actually, those are me adjusting the alligator clips. So this is the discharge curve of the cell. It is actually making this curve right now. This is the active measurement circuit, and this page stores it in local storage, and then this separate page makes a graph out of it. And yeah, here on the horizontal axis, it's we can see the watt hours or amp hours, and on the vertical axis we can see the voltage. So what I did here is I've drawn in the different regimes. So this dark green teal-ish color is what the what percentage of the battery is actually being used until the low battery warning. So the car starts here right at the top right, and then it depletes the battery, and it shows a low battery warning at 51 watt hours out of about 90. Well, it's 82 right now, but it will like 82, 83 watt hours usable capacity. So that's about 30 watt hours that I can use out of this battery until it says, hey, your battery is low. But it's not low, it's still at 70% charge. So there's this massive amount of energy that the car thinks it cannot use because it's calibrated to a different battery chemistry. It's calibrated to this battery chemistry, which thinks that low battery warning starts at 20% capacity, while in reality the new battery, which is currently like half of the capacity of the entire car, still has 70% at low battery warning. So I'm in the car now, and the guessometer, so that's the blinking 8 kilometers thing there, which says how many kilometers you have left. It's been saying this for the past 40 kilometers, because yesterday I had already emptied the car after about 70 kilometers. It was blinking at like 16 kilometers back then. And then I had to rescue the girlfriend from The Hague, which is about 20-ish kilometers away. So I had to drive 40 kilometers round trip. So now the car's at 105, but despite that, so my phone there is displaying a program called Leaf Spy that taps into your car and shows, in this case, all the battery voltages. And also at the top right, it's probably almost impossible to read, but it says the battery is at 360 volts, which is about close to 3.8 volts per cell. So that means that my extender battery, which is in the back there under that rug, should still be pretty full. I calculated that according to my discharge curves, there should be at least 8 kilowatt hours left. There's also about 2.3 kilowatt hours, say 2 kilowatt hours left in the main battery. So I would fully expect that I can drive another, 10 kilowatt hours divided by about 150, 160. I can easily get 50 kilometers out of this. So I guess I'm just going to drive for 50 kilometers. Alright, we're well past the point of very low battery warning, so I don't actually have an indication anymore of how far the car can go. But clearly I've already gone like 15 kilometers, and the pack is still at 353 volts. So that's well over 3.7 volts per cell, which means it still has a very decent amount of capacity, at least 6 kilowatt hours. Now there is one snag in all of this. If you can see that, the 169 millivolt is the pack imbalance, the total pack imbalance. And there is one weak cell in my main battery pack. It's cell number 96. And it is showing as very, very low. It's now at 3.54 volts. Now if this cell hits 3.2 volts, the car will go in turtle mode, regardless of how much capacity I still have in the back. And that means I won't be able to make it home if I go like very far around. I currently, I'm near the highway, just had a little bit of highway driving and headwind driving just to try to load up the car. But I think I'm going to do smaller circles around my house so that I know for sure that I can get home. Alright, the odometer is at 140 kilometers, and the pack voltage is about 346, but I've been hammering the car for the last 20 kilometers. The reason I've been hammering the car is to see whether the contactors are getting hot. No, not really. They're a bit warm, but essentially the car is pulling all of its power from the extender pack now. So I should be able to go a decent amount further. What I'm really worried about is that weak cell. I would like to get the car to 160 kilometers just to say that I drove 100 miles. But not going to take too many chances. I think I'm going to drive around even smaller circles. I've been doing 80 kilometers an hour roads around my city. Now I think I'm going to drop it down to 50 kilometers an hour roads. Whoops, went against my own advice. Well, I've actually... it's so slow to try to drive on roads inside the city, so I went another couple 80 kilometer an hour roads, and I think I can say that the battery is empty now. It's at 336 volts, which is 3.5 volts per cell, and even for the extender battery, that is pretty much empty. But more importantly, that weakest cell there, it's at 3.28 volts now, well below the rest of the pack, like more than 100 millivolts under even the second weakest cell. So when I'm accelerating, the cell voltage actually goes down to 3.23 volts, which is like 10 millivolts above turtle mode. So if I accelerate too hard right now, the car will go into turtle mode. So I consider this the usable range, the truly usable range. 168 kilometers. I kind of overshot. I'm obviously really happy with that result. This is winter. The car, I've been pounding it. I haven't been driving slowly. I've been accelerating, braking. And the heat was on for more than half of this entire distance. So 170 kilometers, that's more than 100 miles on a 2011 Nissan Leaf. So the car has just finished charging, and in total it consumed 34.3 kilowatt hours. So if we take into account that the charger is about 92% efficient, that is about 31 kilowatt hours in the batteries. All right, so I'm in the car now, and there are two things I wanted to check. The first is there is actually a little orange warning light there. That's the EV system warning light, and it has to do, we've had this before. The car was actually not functioning at some point. It was dead, did not want to start, and the reason for it is it takes a long time to charge, and the 12-volt battery, so the lead-acid battery, that's the one getting drained while the lithium-ion battery is getting charged. And yeah, that's just stupid design from Nissan. I think the EV system warning light is related to that, so the battery is probably low. We're going to check that in a second. Now, the second thing I wanted to check is whether the main battery is well balanced. So I'm going to start up Leaf Spy. And no, actually the battery is actually pretty well balanced. All right, now bear with me here. I gotta do this one-handed somehow. 12.48 volts. That's actually not too bad. That is pretty empty though. That's like half empty. But still, I wouldn't expect that to throw an error. Let's see if there are any fault codes. Ah, damn it, the error went away. Should have looked at it when it was fresh. So that concludes this extended extender. I guess this is a success because I extended the 16 kilowatt hours of usable capacity in the old battery with pretty much another 16 kilowatt hours, doubling it and exceeding what a 30 kilowatt hour Leaf would have, because 30 kilowatt hours, that's the nominal capacity. You can only use about 25. And I made it to get over 100 miles winter range with heating. I call that pretty awesome, to be honest. Now this also means that for the time being I won't be working on the extender for a while. Now I know that this is only the temporary extender. I don't actually intend on permanently sacrificing trunk space to a battery. Kind of want my car back. But I'm going on a little holiday. I will be making logs of exactly how far I can get. But in the meantime, my main focus will be on stuff like aero mods. For instance, I just blocked the grill there. You can see a little bit of tape there. That's just styrofoam blocking up the grill. This is supposed to help aerodynamics quite a bit, but obviously this is not the only aero mod I'm doing. I've also removed part of the antenna, although there's still a little stub, which I dislike. But yeah, in general, aero mods are going to be the next topic. So I really hope you enjoyed the series up till now, and stay tuned for more goodness.